Hi, I'm Anthony Pulvinelli from Bud Smail Motor Cars in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. Here today to show you an amazing vehicle, the iconic Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon. First thing that you notice about the Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon is the iconic styling. Starting with the very front of this vehicle, you note the large central star, large single lamp headlamp design, daytime running lamp directly below, goes across here with this massive chrome grille, sort of like a three-part splitter here in the front, as well as like the very large air intakes here along the bottom of the car. Also a little bit of a different slope to the hood of this car. Mercedes-Benz does a very interesting take on the power domes that stem from our SL on the central part. It's actually one of the very few cars that you'll see in our history with actually a lifted center section, a little bit different than the power dome design, but similar in terms of how it's styled. Going along to the side of the vehicle, you notice a very attractive wheel design. Quite a few different wheel options available on the G-Wagon, from some titanium look, black look, alloy wheels, moving to the very large running board along the side of the vehicle. Just all this really cool eye-catching style along the side. All the lines of this car. This is really one of the cool design elements, is how these handles even sort of all line up with the trim along the side. And you'll actually see that this trim, it actually works its way the whole way around to the other side of the car. So as you're working your way across, you can see with the rear as well, the same handle design and everything works its entire way across the vehicle, moving to the very large spare, just ever so slightly offset to the left side of the back. Continuing around the car, one other thing too just to note is the window design. So it's a little bit different than a lot of the Mercedes vehicles in that generally this window, it's a much smaller profile. It also tends to not be inlaid quite in the same fashion as how these are. You'll see how it actually sort of centralizes itself on the door. Basically all the door technology and everything, these doors really feel like a vault door. You go and you open and close the door, there's actually a push button on the door even just to be able to operate the door hinge on it. Not many vehicles built anywhere close to the build quality of this car. Moving around to the front too, want to show you under the hood. Inside on this one, V8 bi-turbo by Mercedes-Benz. Every engine entry in this car, in this class, is a bi-turbo engine. So this, the G550, uses a bi-turbo V8. Mercedes also offers the bi-turbo handcrafted V8 on the G63, as well as a handcrafted bi-turbo V12 on the G65. Alrighty, let's go and take this baby on a spin. Alright, so we're on a ride here in the 2017 Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon. This is such an awesome car. Just drives unlike anything else, not only in our lineup, but I think in any other vehicle on the road. Whether you maybe have heard about this car online, or maybe you're fortunate enough to know somebody that's had one, maybe you've just read about it in a magazine. All the magazines, periodicals, and everything online seem to love this car. G-Wagon, it's such an iconic piece of machinery for Mercedes-Benz. I mean, they've been doing this style, this chassis, for close to 40 years. Something like 38 years now, 2017, in terms of this vehicle. And obviously they've made a lot of updates to all the technology. You have all the wealth of advanced safety features. There's a lot of great, technology in this vehicle that's all integrated in that you'll find on any other 2017 Mercedes-Benz vehicle. But just the ride and the way that this car feels to drive is very different than pretty much anything else in our lineup. For this car, being the true G-Wagon, this is actually on a truck chassis. So this vehicle feels, not only does it sit higher and does it look a lot different whenever you see it from the outside, but both the way that it feels, whether you're just parking it in the parking lot or you're taking it out on the highway, everything about the steering, everything about how this vehicle feels when you press the gas, it just feels like a nice, big, safe, sturdy car. This car, it just feels like a tank whenever you drive it. Lots of cool controls on it to be able to adjust your shifting of the vehicle, from these magnesium paddle shifters directly behind the steering wheel, which I'll show you, being able to sort of shift it like a manual, as well as obviously this car is fully automatic. So you have sort of a traditional like shifter down here at the bottom, but it's not traditional at all. You don't actually move this shifter into the gear that you're going for. It's all electronic. You just barely touch it and it'll flip between reverse, neutral, and drive with a separate button for you in terms of park. This is sort of a shift design that Mercedes is using on their AMG vehicles, and also exclusively for their SL and G-Wagon vehicles as well. Just a nice, comfortable, ergonomic feel to all the controls and everything down here. Because of the ride height, I actually was, prior to shooting, doing some adjustments here with the seats in the car, and it's pretty wild what you can do in terms of adjustments. Both with the seat, with the armrest, with all the kind of your position in relation to all the controls. Mercedes really put a lot of thought into the design of the steering wheel in this car, which is a unique design, to the design of the controls, to the shape of the shifter. You know, there's just a lot of really clever ergonomics. A lot of great abilities too in terms of being able to make some adjustments, both with high range and low range controls, suspension controls, everything on the fly. Actually going to change it up here a little bit for us. We've been driving in sort of an economy setting, and I'm going to switch it over to sport here. I drive a lot of our cars and SUVs very, very frequently, and one of the cool features on a lot of the driver selectable modes on these vehicles in terms of how you can adjust between sort of more of a comfortable setting to more of a sporty setting. And I got to tell you, of all the SUVs, with one touch of a button, the economy versus the sport feel on this car is very, very different. There's so much torque on this car that even in the economy settings and the comfort settings, you can very easily just go and look down and not realize, you know, the speed that you're going, or, you know, how easily you can, you know, be able to keep up with traffic on the road. Makes it nice and easy that even if you're on a highway, which we are now, makes it real easy to be able to keep the flow of traffic almost effortlessly. You know, you're not really having to give it a lot of power the way you would on some larger or heavier vehicles. A lot of really awesome differential controls too. Sort of one of the big standout features on the G-Wagon over the last 30-40 years is all the driver selectable differentials right here. And actually, I'm just even noticed it right there once again with that sport steering. It is really cool. I mean, even at speed, to be able to just barely turn your wheel, it's similar kind of feedback that you get in a sports car, and to be able to do that in a you know, a large SUV is pretty wild. But these differentials really give you a lot of different locking capabilities. If you're wanting to do some off-roading, you couldn't ask for a better car. I mean, unfortunately, we're not going to do any off-roading in the video today, but this is about as good as it gets when it comes to off-road capabilities. Benz also plans to introduce here shortly a vehicle that actually just completed its auto show circuit run, and that is the G-Wagon 4x4. And what that vehicle is capable of is that actually is going to be even more of an off-roading capable car. It sits actually over 7 feet tall. It's almost a 7.5 foot tall vehicle. Between your ground clearance and just the size of the wheels, and taking all these differentials and just adding even more to it, that's going to be quite literally, I mean, I don't think there's a better off-roading vehicle on the planet. Really nice floating screen on this car. One of the things a lot of times whenever you are looking for any of your controls, navigation, radio, telephone settings, etc., is to be able to have the maximum amount of visibility, but also too, Mercedes really doesn't want to distract the driver who might be looking at any of the controls on the center screen from, you know, keeping their hands on the wheel, keeping focused on the road. And a couple of things that Mercedes does to kind of ensure that is right off the bat with the central controller here, makes for a nice design where just you barely move your arm, and you can very easily adjust all of the central controls here from your nav, your radio, media, phone, etc., vehicle settings, all right here from the central control. But also too, because of the position of the floating screen, this floating screen really makes it nice and easy to be able to see everything, not have any glare on this type of display from the sun, but also you're not taking away from the field of view. So this vehicle, you find whenever you drive it, that because of your seated position, you really don't see the hood. So you have all this nice open area, being able to see out. There's no blind spots or anything. I mean, you look around this car, and the window design the visibility's flawless. I mean, I can actually even see where the rear tire sits in the back, everything in the back, everything on the sides, etc. And obviously Mercedes doesn't want to cut down on your windshield view. So that's a large part of why with this floating screen design, Mercedes gives you the maximum field of view without taking away from your ability to see out. One of the things too about every Mercedes-Benz vehicle, and it doesn't matter if it's something like the G-Wagon, one of our SUVs, one of our cars, but the G-Wagon is definitely no different when it comes to is safety. And this all the advanced safety features on these vehicles, it's very, very important to Mercedes-Benz to have systems like pre-safe, where even in the event that there's the possibility of an accident, or basically what's happening is the car can sort of tell if there's a situation that could involve a rollover, could involve, you know, like a side type of a collision, even like a front collision, being hit in the rear, etc. And the car will sort of, you know, before anything actually happens, adjust the passenger seat, it'll close the sunroof, it'll do a lot of adjustments in terms of like the windows, and in terms of, you know, sort of just how the car reacts to the accident if it's going to happen. And fortunately too, if you know, obviously if God forbid something does happen in terms of an accident, the car is going to react to it. But if you are able to avoid it, everything then just goes back to the way that it was. So the car is actually sort of looking out for you even before something happens. It also gives you systems like Collision Prevention Assist Plus, which is actually an advanced setup in the front, which is actually going to check and make sure if you're approaching the car in front of you too quick, maybe somebody got in front of you and is slowing down and you just didn't notice, it's going to actually beep and kind of alert you. There's a signal that comes up on the instrument cluster to inform you that you're approaching the car too quickly. Now that system also too, because of the active brake assist, has the capability to actually bring you to a stop. So in the event that it is a distracted driving situation, that car, the setting for that can actually help bring the G-Wagon to a complete stop. Also some very nice advanced sensors on the side, just to sort of show you what I'm talking about. Just turned it on right there. You might have noted there was a little bit of a beep and a flash of the right icon. That is the blind spot assist system. So on blind spot assist, you're actually going to have the two triangle icons on both of the side mirrors, which are going to let you know, if somebody does get in your blind spot, to kind of avoid it. You know, it'll actually light up red anytime somebody's in your blind spot, and then if you put your signal on, it will both blink and it'll sort of alert you in terms of an audible beeping. But up top, you actually have your sunroof control as well. So you got this nice big sunroof whenever you want it. Makes it nice and easy to be able to get a little bit of air. Nice long wide sunroof too. This is a wider roof than any of our other vehicles. Can all be adjusted just with the push of a button. All of the roof controls, window controls, everything all have a one-touch feature, or they can be just sort of closed in one simple touch, or you can sort of adjust it to the ideal position for you. So for 2017, Mercedes-Benz now celebrating 131 years of building vehicles. And also too, with the G-Wagon, it's actually getting close to 40 years with the current chassis. So Mercedes has not done any kind of a major restyle of any kind on the Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon for almost 40 years. It's going on about 38 years now without a major redesign. And it's actually the longest running passenger vehicle currently still on the market without a major redesign. And you know, I mention that to people all the time, and everybody says the same thing. Well, look at it, it's a perfect car, why would you change anything? And I think that's probably a little bit Mercedes thinking too. You know, it's such an iconic style, it's such an iconic look. So another great feature about this vehicle are the seats. Seems like something very, very simple, but these actually have some very, very advanced dynamic seat controls, where both for the driver and the passenger as you're going, you can actually adjust the pressure. You might even be able to hear that. It's actually adjusting sort of these, they actually call them bladders. It's sort of a setup inside the seat that actually adjusts the amount of air in these pockets inside of the seat, which make the seat sort of conform to the driver. And you can actually go in and you can customize how these components of the seat sort of hug around you. So whether it's the back bolsters here, I just moved the one that was on the lumbar support. Probably my favorite, there's even one here right on the front. You can actually adjust how long the seat is. So depending on like the length of your leg or sort of, you know, your sort of fit to the seat, you can actually adjust how long the shape of the seat is, how it sort of conforms to where you're sitting in the seat. This just makes for such a nice, comfortable experience whenever you're driving, or if you're riding shotgun, to just have a nice, comfortable feel while you're in this vehicle. Something else I got to show you is the turning radius of this car. People don't realize it, but even our larger vehicles, you know, even something like this on a truck chassis has such a nice, nimble capability to make a real quick, sharp turn. I actually almost undercut it just to give you a little bit of an idea. It's amazing how quick and nimble even a vehicle of this size and this sort of stature can just really easily go into a turn, even at speed, and just hug the road. Just really a feat of engineering. You see it across the board on the Mercedes G-Wagon. Probably the thing that stands out to me most about this car, both being a fan of it and, you know, working for Mercedes-Benz, is the build quality of everything about this car. From the steering wheel to your controls to the feel of just opening and closing the door on this car. This is just built to last. As Mercedes says, built to feel like it'll last forever. And they are exactly right about that on the G-Wagon. Wow, that was an awesome vehicle. I hope you had as much fun as I did. Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon, probably no vehicle in our lineup better exemplifies the 130 plus years of history that Mercedes-Benz has than a car that hasn't been redesigned for almost 40 years and still is as iconic as ever. Please stop by our showroom here in Greensburg to check out this vehicle in person, or visit us on the web at Smail, Mercedes-Benz.com.